Good evening, everybody. It's your pal Martin Anthony here, making my 10th appearance at the Gough Cafe's open mic night. I've just been away on holiday for early this month. I went out to Azerbaijan on the Caspian Sea and Baku, and then a trip to Cyprus. And so Cyprus was my last country in Europe that I'd never been to. So now I've ran out of Europe, and now I need to go across to Africa, Asia, or South America to fry big fish. Tonight I'm going to be reading to you a bit of a spoken word I wrote while on the Trans-Siberian, which is a train that goes from Vladivostok to Moscow. It takes 7 days, so if you're going to stay on a train for 7 days, you might as well get riding. It's called See Who Gives a Fuck in Death. It was the 6th of June 2009. I was a 23-year-old Sydney side who made himself redundant through choice. I would sleep until 12 p.m. and not give a hell about life. On that day, Michael Joseph Jackson died of a heart attack after a deliberate overdose of anesthetic medication, Profiterol, thanks to Dr. Carmody. My mom woke me up at 8 o'clock that morning to tell me that Michael Jackson had died of a heart attack. I logged into my laptop and started playing Lamb of God, Laid to Rest, off their 2003 record, Ashes of the Wake. At the time of my life, Lamb of God meant a lot to me. It was the lyrics, see who gives a fuck, that mean a pure stick it to your brain type of statement. The lyrics was right for me at the time. I didn't care that Michael Jackson was dead. I didn't care at all. All my friends were saying stuff like, good riddance, the death of pedo, and making jokes like, them and Jackson, it's a 50-year-old piece of meat on 10-year-old buns. I was never a fan of MJ. I never listened to his music, never bought his CDs, never saw him in concert, even illegally downloaded his music. I just wasn't affected by his death at all. Other people were crying, but I was asking the question, so who gives a fuck? The day after Michael Jackson's public funeral, the singer at midnight from the band Crimson Glory died in Florida at age 47. He was a man who had problems with a bottle. He died of medical complications after vomiting blood and not going to the hospital. I was not a fan of Crimson Glory, but the death of Midnight affected me in many ways possible. 2 weeks, everybody's mourning the death of the King of Pop. The death of a legend to many power metal fans around the world was only mentioned on heavy metal website Blabbermouth and other metal fanzines. The death of a legend to many power metal fans around the world was only mentioned in this small group of people. After Midnight died, I became a fan of Crimson Glory. I fell in love with their first 2 records, Crimson Glory and Transcendence. I never gave a shit about their 3rd record as it was in the Crimson Glory album. Every 8th of July, I write to my friend Dave to remind him that it's Midnight's anniversary of death. This saddens both of us because the day Midnight died, nobody outside of metal gave a fuck. 4 years after the death of Midnight, I donned on a Crimson Glory shirt, my heavy metal vest. I went over to a material lady's house and had fun times with her. She thought my heavy metal vest was awesome, and that she cured me of a couple of personal problems. So then, 3 years later, after passing Midnight, my Uncle Brian dies in Naples of a heart attack in his sleep. He just turned 71 a few weeks ago. I'd seen him twice in the last 8 months. I saw him as the best relative I had out of all of my mom's brothers and sisters. I was devastated when my mom woke me up at 6 a.m. to tell me Uncle Brian had died. My mom was in tears and I was in shock. I had to go to work that day. I even slammed a pot at work so hard out of frustration. I had to take the next Monday off work because I was so distraught about my favourite uncle's passing away. I was also pissed that I couldn't go over to the funeral to farewell him, even though I had the money and I was only 2 weeks away until I went overseas. Here I was to embark on my second trip to England. To finally meet the family my dad left behind, I had to put on a brave pace. A month later, I ended up backstabbing my dead uncle's nephew's John Herford in London because John wasn't supportive of me moving to the UK. John was in love with a woman called Bronwyn who was a cow to me. 2 months after my Uncle Brian died, I wrote to every family in New Zealand to tell them what I'd been up to overseas and how sad I was Uncle Brian's passing. Nobody replied to me. They all made me feel like a narcissist. 3 months after my Uncle Brian died, I destroyed every single photograph I had of my New Zealand family. I'd been able to reunions between 2008 and 2012, and they all got fucked up because my Aunt Kathy was a cow to me. I made it clear to John in August 2012 I would never attend any more stupid family reunions, and I won't go back to New Zealand. I would rather sleep with a mature woman aged about 40 who would visit poor nations and go back to New Zealand. The death of famous people we've seen live. In the last few years, a lot of musicians I've seen live have passed away. It was the passing of Dio, Frank Watson's Obituary, Jeff Hyman and Slay, and Wayne Static that affected me. I had seen these musicians live on stage. When they died, the thought of them not being with us anymore just stunned me. One of my dad's cousins in England died in 2014, and she was very close to my father. I was devastated because I never got to meet this cousin. I told my dad, I know you don't care, but you should know that your cousin has died, and he was okay about it. In 2014, Gough, Whitlam, the Australian Prime Minister, died at the age of 95. I said good riddance and drank a beer as I went to work. When I got home at night, I was telling my sleepy mother about Gough Whitlam's passing. Mum scolded me for saying good riddance about the passing of Gough, but my mother was a lady who lived through the Whitlam era of Australia. She was a new migrant and was given the same voting right as other new migrants to Australia at the time. But my mother's first 3 years of Oz were hell thanks to Whitlam. When Fraser was sworn in, he brought trouble to my newly married immigrant parents. Months later, Fraser was dead, and I said good riddance and drank another beer. I didn't give a flying fuck when Whitlam or Fraser passed on. Call me un-Australian, call me anti-Australian, or I hate Australia. But Whitlam and Fraser caused a huge genocide in Timor-Leste that happened for 24 years. I have forgiven Indonesia for causing this trouble. I spent money in Indonesia, but I'll never forgive Australia for arming so hard as Indonesia and then stealing Timor's oil money after independence. The day I didn't give a flying fuck about my aunt's passing. In November 2014, I celebrated my 29th birthday. I was having a fun time with a hot, attractive woman from New Zealand, and she fixed up some personal problems with me. I took the bus home to Castle Towers when my mother was telling me that my Aunt Cess was dying and she wouldn't make it. Mum was blabbing that her sister had leukemia. I got off the bus to meet my cousin when he told me the news my aunt was dead. I didn't go into shock. I didn't die, nor did I get sad or depressed. I just didn't give a flying fuck that my aunt was dead. Reason being, I hated her. She was a fruit-loving aunt and a critic. She'd bitch and moan about certain aspects of my life, about not getting to see, about growing a beard, about wanting to see Foreigner in Milan, about not seeing anything in Rome. I hated my Aunt Cecily. My mind was celebrating that she was dead. It was hard to feel sad at the passing of something I disliked. The last thing I told my Aunt Cecily, my cousin John is a tool, with his wife growing as a cow. I'd rather go visit 162 nations of the UN, put money in their pockets. I'm glad I didn't go to that funeral. My Aunt Cecily would have told me to spend the airfare on a flight to South Africa. If I had gone to that funeral, I would have called my cousin's wife growing a cow to her face, and would have shit-fronted my African cousin John for being a tool to me. A month later, I saw a 60-year-old woman in Sydney, and I told her about my auntie's passing, and I didn't care. And then she said, you're free to live your life, and you shouldn't let other people's death drag you down or affect you when you have no love for them. I've been to Commonwealth war graves in a lot of countries, and there's war graves within 50 kilometres of this town. And every time I just see war graves, it just reminds me about the sacrifice these men had given. I mean, these people should be given a lot more of respect, and that's what the Commonwealth War Graves Commissions, they do, because they look after the grave for the rest of eternity. The death of Jackie Collins, Lemmy and Bowie. In 2015, the well-loved British author Jackie Collins passed away in LA at age 77 after a long battle with breast cancer. This sent shockwaves through the world as the past of the best romance writers of all time. I was devastated when Jackie Collins had died. Why was I devastated? She was born in the country I pledged allegiance to, that I used their passport and asked protection from. She was British, just like I am, and the death of someone famous British affects me in the same way when Lee Rigby died. I never got to meet Jackie Collins, but she came to my hometown of Castle Hill in October 2013. I became a fan of Jackie Collins after she died. I read 3 of her books, and I like to give them as gifts. And then when Lemmy from Metalhead died in October 15 of cancer, I was devastated. I'd never seen Metalhead live, got into their albums again. The passing British legend heavy metal saddened me. Lemmy was a legend and a huge hero to plenty of musicians on both sides of the Atlantic pond. He shall influence others from now on. 2 days after Lemmy's funeral, David Bowie was dead. Yet again, he was a British citizen like me, but I never brought any of his music. I just saw him as an awesome person. He was dead at a young age of cancer. He wasn't even 70 yet. When Prince died suddenly on the 21st of April 2016, I was devastated. I'm not an American citizen, but the passing of a musician who I adored when I was 18 and 20 brought tears to my eyes. This is a guy who had rock and roll roots, and even though his love of his music was R&B. In the end, we are going to live on in our lives. We're going to outlive our mothers, our fathers, our aunts and uncles, brothers and sisters, and our heroes will pass on. How we react to their death is up to our own hearts and mind. Mike Portnoy warned us all that we are about to enter a period of their lives where musicians who are famous and popular in the 60s, 70s could be dead tomorrow. I already made a list that when Klaus Mean, John Mayung, Rudolf Schenker, Kate Bush, Joanna Lumley, Chuck Billy, John Tardy, Phil Anselmo, Millie, Uncle Tom, Shima, Snake, Linda Ronstadt, Pat Benatar, Biff Byford, Joe Elliott, Rick Savage, Kirk Hammett, Dave Mustaine, Kerry King, Scott Ian, King Diamond, Steve Grant, Kip Winger, Stephen Percy, Bruce Dickinson, Ted Polly, Joan Collins dies. I will be effing devastated. I'll be crying. I'll be so sad when they're gone. And then I will feel sad for most British legends when they pass on. I'm Martin Anthony, and thank you very much.